Good evening, everybody.
Hello.
Hello, I'm a newbie.
That's what this meeting is pretty much for just general questions and answers for any of the newbies out there. So how's everybody's bees doing?
We have one hive left still. One of them died out.
Have you looked in it to see what you think caused the dead out?
They all absconded, so we're gonna guess it was a mite load or something.
Well, anybody got any questions or anything tonight? Jason, our club president, for those of you who don't know, just sent us a video from out in California. We just posted on Facebook, so we'll take a look at that if you want to.
That would be great. I do have a question. We are taking on a lease in an orchard up here on East Orchard Mesa, and there are 4 beehives that look like they may not have been inhabited for a couple of years. There's like just a lot of junk in it. Can I clean those up and reuse them, or should I be thinking about getting new hive boxes and frames?
That's all going to be condition dependent. I picked up some from some beekeepers that weren't doing anything, and the hive bodies themselves were pretty good. The frames got massively invaded by wax moths, and there were cockroaches in it. So I basically kept the boxes, but got rid of the frames and started over from there.
Okay, so just sort of dig through them and see what I got.
Exactly.
And what are the things that would cause me to throw them away besides just like they're falling apart? Like, are there certain things you just would never want to reuse?
A lot of times you don't want to reuse it depends on the condition of the wax. You may not want to reuse that because who knows what pesticides and stuff are in there. And like I said, if it got hit by wax moths or, there were, like I said, the ones I picked up had been infested with cockroaches. So there was all kinds of feces all over the place. So I got rid of those. The boxes themselves, they should be fine as long as they're not, rotting and falling apart. You could always take in, if you're not sure about if the boxes look good, but you're not sure what was in there, you could always just take a torch to the inside of the box and burn them.
Oh, that's a good idea. Okay.
That would get rid of any of that other stuff. So
awesome. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yep. So then Brian's asking in the chat, when to do mite treatments in the winter? Depending on what you're treating with. I mean, if you're doing like oxalic acid, it would be good now because they're broodless, and that should be able to get rid of a lot of your mites because you don't have to worry about any cap brood.
And remind me, is there like a temperature requirement for oxalic?
Not for oxalic, you're thinking formic acid. That's the one you don't want to do over 87.
Okay. Okay.
It's got that really, really tight window. It's like not below 60, but not over 87 or something like that.
Got it. Okay. So we could do oxalic anytime now.
Yep, oxalic vapor would be good right now. Just about any treatment should be pretty good right now. Cool. Just make sure that you do it when it's warm enough to actually get into those hives. I wouldn't be getting in the hives below 50.
Got it. Right. Okay. Thanks.
I have a question since I'm absolutely a brand newbie. I don't even have my bees yet. I have ordered and I have a hive, which is a Slovenian style, 3 tiers. And I have frames and everything that came with it. It is used. I was glad to hear her question about what to reuse and what not, because he did give me 5 frames of honey to get started with. And I did keep them in the freezer for quite some time to freeze out any kind of infestation that might have been in there, because it felt like there were some moths in it. Do I need to throw those out, or do you think that's a good idea to keep them for when my bees do come?
Was this, you buy this from somebody that you kind of trust, or is this just somebody?
It's not someone I know, but it's a older guy who just used to keep bees with his dad from Delta, and he was getting rid of all of his stuff because his health wasn't allowing him to do it. So I felt like his advice was good, but as a newbie, I don't know.
I would ask him if he knows how old those frames are. Kind of the general recommendation is we want to cycle out the frames every 5 years. A good way to do that would be, you want to take out, if you're running, are you running 10 frame boxes or 8 frame boxes?
Well, since it's the Slovenian style, they're not really boxes. They slide in from the side. I don't know if you were familiar with that type.
That one's a little new. So when inside the box itself, how many, you're looking at it like a book, I'm assuming. So how many frames are in there?
There's 10 per row, and so there's room for 30. I think I only have 20. So I'm also curious about whether I need to make sure it's full when I start, or is it okay to have some space in there, or will they just fill it up with comb?
They're going to fill up it. There's a thing called bee space. It's about 3/4 of an inch. Anything bigger than that, they're going to fill it with something. So do you have a way, if you're just starting out with bees, you're probably only going to want to have like 1 box. Do you have a way to separate it to keep them down in just 1 10 frame section? And then can open?
I'm not sure I do, but I'm pretty sure we could make one pretty easily, because there's room for like a queen excluder between each level.
Okay. I would get some sort of flat plywood to start with and separate them. So when you first get your bees, only have them in the first 10. Because if you give them too much room, that they got to keep that warm. They're going to try to get that hive at around 90 degrees. And if you're only running like a 3-pound package of bees, there's not enough bees to keep that warm. And they're going to set them back. So you want to start out, cap them down into the 10 section. Once they have filled up about 80% of that box, then give them to the 20. Once that's 80% full, then you're going to give them then you'll give them the 30. If it works like our normal Langstroth, your top 30 or your top 10 should be just your honey, and everything else below should be
all the brood should be below.
Yeah. And you might put your queen excluder, if you're going to use that, between your second and your top box.
Okay. That's because I'd read some different things about that, whether it should go between the 1 and 2 or 2 and 3.
Yeah. So, they said you want to give them space, but not too much. So 80% is kind of where you want to, that's when you want to expand. So keep them contained into 10 until they build up. And with that honey, that's going to give you some. Are you buying a nuke, or are you buying just a?
I ordered a nuke. Yeah.
Look at the nuke. Okay, so when you get your nuke, what you're going to do? How many frames of honey did they give you?
He gave me, I think there's like 5 frames of honey.
5. Okay.
And he hadn't used this hive a ton, so it's not, had heavy use. There's very little propolis in there, and.
Okay. Well, propolis is a good thing. That's kind of like their medicine cabinet. Beekeepers don't like it because it's sticky and it's nasty, but it's come to find out that that's like their medicine cabinet. So that's a good thing. But what I would do when you get your bees, you're going to take your nuke, and that's going to go right in the middle of your hive, exactly in the same order it's in the box. So that will basically put your brood in the middle, and then it should come with some honey on the outside. Then I would maybe make sure your brood nest in the middle, put 1 frame honey there, maybe then put a couple of empty frames, and then put your other honey frames on the outside, because you don't want to make it so they still have room to expand.
Okay.
And then once you see bees on, about 8 of the 10 frames, then open it up to the second
Okay.
and go from there.
And I don't want to dominate the conversation, but the traditional way to do that is to keep it in a shed, with an opening to the outside.
Yeah.
Does anybody have experience with that? But
I haven't seen that one. Like I said, most of the stuff that I've been familiar with is the Langstroth style. That's what most people are using. We do have a few people using like top bar hives. So would be definitely be very, very interesting to see your setup. So are you just part of the Delta Beekeeping Club, or are you part?
No, I'm in Junction. I bought it
Okay.
on Facebook Marketplace from a guy in Delta. So
Got it. Okay. Are you part of our club?
Not that I'm aware of. I just joined the Facebook group because like I said, I bought it last summer, but it was a little late to get going with bees, so I didn't.
Yeah. Well,
get going last
we
year.
do open our meetings up to the general public. You don't be a meeting. We do the in-person meetings on the second Wednesday of each month at the Department of Wildlife Building and Hunter Safety at the Hunter Safety
Mhm.
Classroom. But if you did join the club, one of the things we do is we do what we call a road show, which is like apiary visits. And if you were up to it, your hive would be very interesting. I think it would be very interesting that people would see it because it's unique.
Yeah, well, I was hoping it wouldn't be that unique and somebody would have some advice for me, but evidently that's the way they do it in Slovenia, almost exclusively little houses full of bees. So it's an interesting difference, and it's supposed to be easier, so we'll see.
Sounds very cool. I would love to see it.
Well, I definitely plan to join the club. I just, like I said, I haven't because I kind of don't have any bees yet, so it seems a little silly. But yeah, I would definitely like to do that. And also, last question, I promised to stop dominating the conversation. Is there anybody who could mentor me as I get going? Do you guys have somebody who volunteers for that, or?
Yeah, that's one of the things we try to do in the club too, is find mentors and mentees. So I'm not sure, we haven't quite got to that point yet since bees aren't really 100% active, but that will be something that we're going to be probably getting a sign up for here in the next month or so through the club.
That would be great. When do the bees from San Juan usually come in? Do you have an idea?
I'm going to guess probably sometime in April, probably end of April. Most of us get ours from inside the club, and he said he was going to have them probably towards the end of April. As far as but I know their bees mostly are out in California right now doing almond pollination. So it's whenever the almonds are done and they can get a chance to split them and bring them back.
Cool.
Hey,
All
Sherry,
right, well, thank you very much. Yes.
do you know about the Beekeeping 101 class on the 9th, March 9th?
I don't think I do.
That might be great. It's we've got a lot of people coming, and there's information on the Facebook page. So it's going to be something like 9 to 2 in Palisade, and some hands-on, covering a lot of topics. I can put a link in the chat so that you can get the information if you're interested.
Oh, that would be terrific. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So little clarification of that. It's at the Clifton Assembly God Church in Clifton, 9 to 2. Wow, that's a big link.
That's a big link.
Yeah. If for non-members, it's $20, but if you're a club member, then it's free, and club membership for individuals only $25. So it's kind of why we set the prices like that. So
no-brainer, isn't it?
But yeah, either that or if you just go to the Western Colorado Beekeepers Association webpage, it's on the front page there.
Okay.
You can sign up for it there too.
Well, that sounds terrific.
So,
Thank you very much.
not a problem.
We had one of our hives die out this winter, and since our other hive is real active because of the weather, if they get to a point where they've run out of honey, Jason said I can put honey from the dead out in there. Do I just put them on the outside frames? Just swap the frames out and leave them like 4 or 5 brood in the middle?
Yeah, I would put it right next to the brood chamber, so they don't have to go so far. So not in the middle, but right at the edge, or maybe one frame out from the edge of the brood chamber.
Okay, sweet, thank you.
As a follow-on to that, if I'm getting a nuke to put into the one that I had that died, I can just keep the honey in there, and then the bees from the nuke can go ahead and use that. Is that right?
Yeah, correct. It's always best to, reuse your own resources versus getting them from somebody else, unless you really, really trust that person. Because you never know what happened, what caused their dead out or whatever that, but, use your best judgment on that. Okay, so Brian, Boz is asking about why no liquid feed. It's basically a temperature thing. The liquid is going to be like a heat sink, and it's going to suck the heat out of the hive. That's why you want to use the sugar, and it doesn't have to be solid sugar. You could just one of the things that we talked about at the last meeting was take your top off, put an empty box on top of your inner cover, and then sprinkle sugar around the outside of the inner cover, and then put your lid back on top of that, and then they'll come up and grab the sugar. With the insulation, I'm not sure how that works out. I mean, you just don't want to have them have to heat more than what they've already got, especially this time of year, because the more they have to heat, the more energy they're using, the more they need to eat.
I think in the last meeting, Jason said it's hard for them to dry the wet feed out too right now.
Yeah, that's possible too. So, because there is a difference between the moisture amount that's in honey versus what we feed them for syrups. So that's the one hives that you guys have got left. Have you checked their weights? Do they feel heavy? Are you looking like you're going to need to feed?
2 weeks ago when the weather was really warm, we checked them and they hadn't started using the sugar on top yet. And they were still pretty decently heavy, but since it's been really warm, they're very active and we just don't want them to run out. So we'll probably check them here in the next warm day or two and see what they feel like. And then put new honey frames in if they need it.
Mine have been eating the sugar like crazy. So they definitely needed it.
That's the problem with this time of year in this valley. We go from cold to warm to cold to warm, and whenever it's warm, they're active, but yet there's nothing out there for them to eat. So that's why we get the highest die out in March and April before anything starts blooming. So this is the danger zone time. So just keep making sure they got food. So the question in the chat popped up, is it a good idea to paint propolis on the inside of the swarm trap? I don't think propolis is really necessary in the trap, because you're there just to get them to show up there, and then you're going to be transforming into a big box anyway. So the idea is you put something out there so when the scout bees are out looking around trying to find a new place, that they decide that's a good place to go. So it might work for smell. Most of the time you're hearing like lemongrass or like a bee attractant kind of thing, versus I haven't really heard them talk about propolis. I don't think it could hurt. You could give it a try and then report back to the club and see, if you're setting out more than one trap, try the propolis and then try maybe one with like a lemongrass or something and see which one does better. Or if you can tell a difference.
What do you need for a swarm trap? I'm interested in that.
So usually when when they're looking to swarm and they get the scout bees out, they're looking for something approximately the size of like a single deep is what they're looking for, a cavity about that size. So if you have an extra deep, that works out good. Most of the swarm traps you see online, you can buy ones that are made out of like cardboard pulp, like an egg carton, and they're like the size of a small traffic cone. You can look online for stuff. I've even seen people use like old nuke boxes. Good thing you want something in there that kind of smells like a bee. So if you've got some old comb that looks kind of dark and you know that doesn't have a ton of pesticides in it, you can put that in there to as a lure. And then some people will do like a swarm commander is a lure you can use, or lemongrass oil that supposedly mimics the smell of bees and it can get them attracted to it.
So I would just have a deep box with a couple of frames in it and like an entrance, and then bees show up. And then I move them where I want them.
Yeah. So when they're scouting, they're looking at landmarks. So a lot of times if you can do along a fence line, along the edge of a road, along a tree line, along a creek, something that gives them a landmark, that's kind of what they're out looking for. If you've ever seen a swarm go to an area, or if you had one go on your property or something and they go to that area, a lot of times bees will go back to that area again. So if you put a box there, I had that happen to me 2 years ago. I had a swarm go out on a pile of brush I had set out that was getting ready to burn, hadn't done it yet. Caught that swarm, thought I had my swarms under control. 3 days later, I got another swarm and they were in the exact same spot.
Well, that was super cool. We're gonna YouTube that and see what we can come up with this year.
So yeah, I mean, I just had an old box out there that I drilled a hole in. I didn't put an entrance in it because it was kind of bad. So I just drilled a hole in the front of it and set it out there with some old frames in it. I would, if you're using a full box, I wouldn't leave it empty. I would fill it up completely with frames. You don't have to do all like fully waxed frames, but I would do 2 or 3 waxed frames just that have drawn comb on them, just so that they have something to smell, and just keep an eye on it.
Huh, that is super cool. I don't know why I haven't heard about this for the last year we've been in the club.
I bought a bee trap last year because I was thinking that's how I might start with some bees. And I was debating about whether you could put those honey frames I was talking about earlier in there to draw bees or not. Any opinion on that?
I wouldn't do honey frames, just empty drawn comb, because if you do honey frames, what you're going to end up as attracting is wasps, because they're going to be attracted to that honey, and there's nothing there, there's no bees there to fend them off. So the next thing you know, you're going to have a whole bunch of paper wasps and stuff inside there, and you're not going to go near that box at that time.
That's good advice. Thank you.
Yeah, so there was a suggestion that maybe one of the club meetings we might do like a making traps kind of thing. So we can definitely bring that up for discussion and see what kind of interest would be in like another workshop for that as well.
I saw where there's a swarm hotline. How many swarms do you guys get called on each year?
It varies all over the place. Last year, I'm the one who runs the swarm line, so when they call, they answer that. I think last year we had 35 total. I'd have to look up the thing, but it varies from year to year. A lot of them are here in the valley. Sometimes we get calls from Gunnison and Montrose and Cresta Butte.
Yeah. All bad lands.
So yeah, so the way that swarm line works is, somebody calls in. Usually I answer it, get all the information we can, and then we have a whole list of people, and based on whoever's next in line is the one who gets the call to go out there, unless it's something special like it's way out, then it gets a little more complicated.
That's way more than I would have figured.
It just kind of depends on how well people are managing their hives. You get some beekeepers out there that just don't pay attention and don't watch for signs, and the next thing you know, they lose half their bees.
Is the swarm list sign up on the page on the website?
So the swarm line is a club exclusive thing, so it doesn't get posted out to the public. It comes out in the newsletter, so you can sign up there.
We'll look at the newsletter.
Hello? Hello?
Hello, do you have a question?
No, I'm just making sure everyone can hear me all right. So that's a positive, yes?
Yep, we can hear you.
Hey, can everybody hear me? I'm going on my wife's account.
Got it. Yep, so we can hear you. So like I said, we're just general questions and answers about beekeeping. So if you got any questions, feel free to send them out. We'll do what we can to answer them.
So, what's the best way to keep the honey?
To keep the honey, like once you've harvested it, or
Yeah,
keeping it-
like when you harvest it, what's the best way to keep it? Do I keep it in the fridge, the cabinet? What do I do?
you're going to want to keep it as close to hive temperature as possible, which is around 85 to 90 degrees. So you definitely don't want to put it in the refrigerator, because it'll crystallize, and then you just got crystal sugar honey. If you want to keep it liquid.
Oh, okay, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So will the bees sting you when you go in to grab them, or are they happy bees? Are they?
Well, you want to be very careful with it. They can they're usually pretty gentle, because they know that if they sting you, it's a one and done, because they're going to die. So you go in there, you be calm. You use a little bit of smoke if you need to. If they start getting grumpy, you take your time, and it's a kind of a practice thing.
What's the best type of bee to get honey from?
There's only one kind of bee that makes honey. It's the honeybee. And
Do wasps make honey?
Oh,
Do wasps make honey?
I
No.
don't think so.
How about hornets? I know hornets do. I know hornets, like, apparently their honey can make you high.
No, it's just bee buddy. It's just bees.
It's only a honeybee.
Yeah, Bosworth. Yeah, that's enough. Yeah.
Is it covered in
There,
rubber?
I got rid of them.
Mm.
So that's the downside about putting this out to the public, unfortunately. So now that the non-serious people are gone, anything else? Yeah, this happened another time. Last year we had another one where somebody came up and he was in a dinosaur costume and turned on the audio and started blasting music so nobody could hear. So let me take a quick look at the sheets real quick and I can let you know if you're on the swarm list. So yeah, John, I have you on the swarm line.
And he's not taking care of it perfectly.
Yeah, so if you are gonna use oxalic acid, I would, get on your schedule.
What's in your bag, July?
You're a little, well, you're gonna be a little less this time of year because you're not dealing with so much capped brood. So you may not have to do the every 5 or 7 days like you would if in the middle of the season when you've got a bunch of capped brood. Because the reason you gotta do it that often is because the oxalic can't go through the caps. So you're gonna get more bang for your buck now. Well, you don't have to cap brood than you will later in the season.
You may do the vapor every couple of days in the summer season?
Yeah, because oxalic acid vapor will not penetrate the cappings on the brood. So that's why they recommend, depending on, some people say every 5 days, some people say every 7 days, because you want to get as many of the mites that aren't inside the capped cell as you can. And any of them that are in there during the cap time, the cap can stay on for, I believe, 14 days. So that's why you do the multiple treatments to get as many as you can.
Even if you're doing oxalic on the sponges, do you still do every 5 days?
No, the sponges are an extended release, so it's constantly putting out. It's the vapor that you got to do the treatment.
Is that something I should start worrying about as soon as I get my bees, or is that something that comes with time?
You're gonna want to check your mites, and you don't want to just treat willy-nilly. You want to treat based on your mite load. So I believe that they should have treated for the mites when you originally get them from San Juan Bee Supply. I believe they treat them before they send them out, but then as they start building up, you want to get basically a mite check. You can get it from Daydant or Man Lake. It's a little vessel that's got a screen in it. You take a half a cup of nurse bees, and the nurse bees are going to be the ones that are on top of the brood. You want to put them in there, get some like 90% alcohol, and you're going to be killing 300 bees, but you'll swirl them around in that alcohol. And then once it settles, you can look on the bottom and you can count your mites, and anything over 3 mites, you're gonna want to start figuring out a treatment. You can definitely get online and look at, mite treatments, so you can see get better ideas of what's going on in that.
Okay. Thank you.
And there's all kinds of different treatments out there depending what you want to do. There's oxalic acid, there's formic acid, there's thymol. So there's a good place you can go to look, get a bunch of stuff. A guy named Randy Oliver, he has a website, it's called Scientific Beekeeping. And he does a lot of stuff where he runs different tests to do compare and contrast the different things in his hives, and a good way to help you make up your mind on what you want to do. Plus
Is there any-
YouTube and
Sorry. Is there any
Say-
local place to get supplies for that?
you can check Sam on Bee Supply for that kind of stuff. I don't know, does anybody buy their stuff locally? I usually have been getting my treatment stuff online.
No. Nobody locally has treatment stuff, but Murdoch's and the Fruta Co-op have a little bee section. They might have the bee wash kit, the little cup, but no one's got oxalic, but you can get all that on Amazon, the oxalic and the sponges or the vaporizer, whatever you want.
Did you say that group was called Scientific Beekeeping?
Yeah, that's the website, Scientific Beekeeping. I think it's scientificbeekeeping.com, or just do a search. His name's Randy Oliver.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Well, I don't have a question, but I was gonna say, I've had good luck with the oxalic vaporizer treatment. So I've used that for 3 years.
Yeah, I've done vapor, I've done the sponges, I've done a couple other treatments, and the vapor's great because it does knock them down real quick, but the downside is you got to do those multiple treatments compared to some of the other ones. So
I'm gonna try the sponges this year.
anything else anybody would like to talk about tonight?
I think we're good here. Thank you.
Not a problem. We'll keep doing this throughout the summer till we get, like last year, it kind of died off at the end of August. So just because questions can pop up between the different between the meetings and stuff. So yeah, if you haven't signed up for it, don't forget about that beekeeping 101 class next or a week from Saturday. And
I do have a bee suit. Do I need to bring that to the Beekeeping 101?
I would, because we are gonna, weather permitting, we are gonna be doing some hands-on stuff outside. So you definitely, we'll have a few spare suits for people who don't have them, but if you've got it, definitely bring it.
Sweet, thank you.
And then, yeah, if you're already signed up for it, probably next Tuesday or Wednesday, I will be sending out a reminder email to let everybody know about check-ins and reminding you to bring your suits and all that other stuff. So
Okay.
watch for that.
Where do you sign up for that?
So it's the best place to do it is go onto the website, the Western Colorado Beekeepers Association website, and it's right there on the front page. So you just gotta scroll down just a little bit.
Someday we need to get
I
Okay,
don't think I signed up yet, but I did do the membership so that I could do the
Yeah,
class.
okay,
Okay, there.
that'll work.
All right, thank you so much.
Not a problem. Have a good night and we'll hope to see you in a week or so.
That one maybe.
Thank
Thanks.
you, you too.
one.